But which is God? Is that the man type on his knee, straining to hold up the aged age, perhaps indicated by the sagging breast, perhaps unable to feed the person that's in here, doing something I can't detect? Does this represent humanity and the multiplicity of humanity just melting into time? Of course, from this side, it looks as though time has mounted humanity, if humanity is implied by the entire mound of material underneath age, entitled Christmas. How interesting. I don't gather the symbolism, but it looks like the angel, if that's what it is offering perhaps Christ. And is that what that is? The baby Jesus? Interesting that this sculpture park should be shadowed by this huge new modern church. This large monument is called the Wave of Ages. And my guess is, we'll roam around here, is that this upward spiral of mankind figures represents the history of man, more likely the flow of man's procreation, or another way, the regeneration of the biomass over time, over and over again, upwardly spiraling into the future. My ideas. It's entitled The Crucible, but I'm not sure why. Certainly it's a cross. This is a Christian nation. The upward sweep of this woman figure. What does it represent? I almost imagine we have to go back and look at the literal definition of crucible. The king of Atlantis. Evolution. A bull, and this powerful man apparently controlling and holding down the bull here, but somehow reflecting a subservience to this, which may be evolution, but evolution dominated by Christianity. Interesting attempt to wiggle through those arguments. This entitled Grief. Certainly we can see some kind of anguish. What does the outstretched hand mean, an arm, to the concept of grief? Ah, he touches the memory of a woman passed on and died. The ultimate grief, perhaps. I wonder if this man suffered the same. And what do these two figures here represent? A fan, arm in arm, like dancers, pushing grief forward. Forward into what? Or waiting to support him if necessary? Interested. Entitled The Birth of Psyche. Again, we should look at that word and find out what it is. Certainly a man here with a hammer and chisel. This, a man kissing a woman whose mouth is at his chest. A powerfully built woman from the hips and the abdomen. But here supported by another female type. And what is this character's role? Psyche. You have to look up that word. This is called Sparks. A man with a woman portrayed almost as an extension of a piece of rod of iron that he has in his left hand as he strikes her. Is that to somehow symbolize the beginning of woman? But who did come first in the Bible? I'd have to go back and look. And what does it imply that man is striking woman? Is that a sexist position? And look at these little pictures down here. What do they portray? I'll try and move the camera down here and sweep across so you can see them. It looks like couplets. But then here, there's something else. Is that a woman with a child? I don't know. And what do these represent here? I don't know. This is entitled Spirit and Matter. But which is which? And how would we know? And look at this as a woman, but she seems to be a graphic reflection of multiple versions of the same, moving back in between the men. Does it somehow represent the product of the union of spirit and matter, like art, the medium, the creativity mixed? The monument to a man, Peterson. What I find interesting is this the man about to lie down on his deathbed, and these people, led by a religious leader, of course, but are these people who've come with great sadness and heavy of heart to pay homage to this important person on this even greater monument to him? And look, it does represent a crowd. Interesting. The wrestlers looks more like a dance, like a posed picture by them of modern dance. He and I had a little quiet moment together a few moments ago. How some humans and creatures are able to craft the ideal world for themselves. This is entitled Sleep. It's interesting because certainly the man figure is dramatically greater in size than the woman. Not only that, his hands are of colossal dimension. Does it reflect that vast unknown mystery of sleep, of dreams? Notice how the man's arm has been squished improbably beneath his knee. Look at the powerful leg, the feet. How even the toes appear to be flexed, gripping that stone. What does that suggest about sleep? Does the woman represent that profound but very short and unnoticed moment when we are willing to go to sleep, not knowing if we'll wake? He gets so pampered, he just thinks this is what life's all about. This is called light and shade. But what is the light and what is the shade? Is the shade the contemplative man on the right? Or are light and shade the two figures on the top? Is one really onerous while the other is the opposite? I don't think so. And the crowds gather as the king reigns, waiting for tidbits. Just convinced that the world does revolve around him. The proof comes every moment, all day long. This is called the end, but I don't know why. There, an old woman with bagged breasts. And the man with that bare skull, ensconced perhaps in eternity. Are they welcoming him? And is his character simply supporting him as he slides inexorably downward into eternity? And is he clenching his fists, hoping he can somehow avoid it? Or is that the exuberance of achievement? This one does not have an English title, but it clearly is strange. A man, quite large for his size, frankly, to have filled the space between the underbelly of a cow and the ground, is his face literally buried in the teat sack of a cow. Never have I seen a cat that would make Elvis envious of the adulation. He holds court with the complete, what's the word? Confidence and contentment of one who rules. Plopped in among more conservative colors are these two dramatic colors. And yet, some variety here that's somewhat interesting. It is permanent. I have to wonder if these aren't painted on colors. Notice, for example, upstairs on the right, that's a darker color than the face that gets more of the sun.